guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kia. I am an urban gardener living in Melbourne. I grow everything in pots and containers on my balcony garden, and I am here to help you grow an amazing garden no matter how big or small your space. Let's dive into today's episode, which is all about getting started growing a container garden on a shoestring budget. So we are going to go through as many different cost-saving hacks as possible, and I know you're gonna love it. Let's get started. Chapter 1, is it actually possible to start a garden on a budget? A lot of people always joke about the fact that gardening is really expensive, and I can kind of agree with them, but it's like anything. You can spend as little or as much as you want, and you do not have to go all in and spend a whole heap straight away. That's not the point of gardening. My garden, I spent a little bit to start with, and I just slowly, gradually added to the garden as it grew, and that's kind of the best approach. So you do not need to spend an arm and a leg and break the bank to get started, and that's one of the things that puts off a lot of new gardeners. They don't want to overinvest. Let me tell you that you do not need to overinvest. If you follow these chapters, it will give you everything you need to get set up with the bare essentials without spending lots and lots of money. And there's actually some really good hacks in here that I have used where you can get things for free or very, very cheap. So let's dive into it. One thing I will preface is that when you do get started, there is going to be an upfront investment or an upfront cost that is going to be a little bit more expensive than as you continue to garden. It's just because you need to get the basics. Once you've got the basics, you're all set up, you're good to go, and you can start diving into gardening in a very cost-effective way. Chapter 2 is all about starting small. Trust me, when you first start gardening, you're only going to need 1 or 2 pots. You don't want to overinvest. This here was my very first gardening pot or container. I actually got gifted it from my partner because the hospital that he works at was giving away some of their gardening equipment. Don't ask me why. And so all I really had to buy was these little containers here from Bunnings. I think they were about $12 or $14 each. And this is where I first started growing herbs. So again, not a big investment. Obviously this was given to me for free, but you could get something like this similar from Facebook Marketplace or secondhand stores or even garage sales. Also, this is a really weird position. I'm kind of squatting right now. The other option is starting small with just a basic container. These containers from Bunnings are again around $12 to $15. They're not super expensive. They're easy to move. They're lightweight. These have lasted me over 3 years, so the quality is still there. But these are great if you don't have a lot of space, but you still want to grow a few things. And again, I think these cost around $8 or $9, and then the hooks were around $3 or $4 each. Now, if you're after a standing container, these can be expensive or cheap depending on what you want to pay. So this one came from a very bougie and very cool garden store here in Melbourne called Dig. Tell me in the comments below if you've been to it. It's amazing. And this was a little bit more expensive. I think it was between like $90 or $120. And it's a really great standing container. I've had this for years and it works really, really well. I can pretty much grow anything in this bad boy. But I'm gonna show you a cheaper alternative that is exactly the same that only cost me $29. So this container here is pretty much the same size. I would say pretty much the same height and still a very good quality. And this was from Bunnings for $29. So see what I mean? You do need to shop around because if I went to Dig, I would have paid $90 to $100. Bunnings, same thing for around $30. If you want to grow things that require more space, like carrots, then this is a really good size pot. Now I've shown you a few of the container options that I have and where I got them from. I would recommend start searching and having a look around at your local garden stores. If you live in Australia, Bunnings is a great option. Shout out Bunnings, I love you. What I would recommend though is go to a garage sale. Go on Facebook Marketplace. There are so many people giving away pots, containers at really, really cost-effective prices. Some people are actually giving them away for free, and that's one, better for your pocket because it's a lot cheaper, but 2, it's also better for the environment. But if you're planning your budget for your very first container, plan to spend around $20 to $30. I think that is a very safe amount, and that's going to give you a really sturdy, good container. Chapter 4 is soil. Soil is so crucial, and I never knew this when I first started gardening, but if you want beautiful, healthy, abundant plants in your garden, you need really healthy soil. And there's actually a few things that I would recommend buying. One is a premium potting mix. So potting mix, again, you can get it from your local gardening store. In Australia, they can cost as little as $4 up to $20. $10 for a big bag of potting mix. I would recommend going somewhere in the middle if you can afford it, because the better quality your potting mix is, your plants are going to be so much healthier. The second thing to add to the soil component is manure. Now again, you can get manure from your local gardening store for around $5 to $10, $12, and that's going to be fine, and you get a big bag, so this will last you quite a long time. The other secret hack for manure is Facebook Marketplace. If you just type in manure into Facebook Marketplace and you live somewhere that is within distance of a farm or a big property, a lot of farmers have so much manure that they're either giving away or they are selling very, very cheap. And again, that's helping out your local farmers, but it's a really cost-effective way of using that as well. The third item to add to your soil component is compost. Now compost, again, you can get from a gardening store for quite cheap, or go on Facebook Marketplace and you will find there's a whole range of different composts available. I would say you could budget for around $10 per bag. So $10 for potting mix, $10 for manure, and $10 for compost. And then you're all set. Chapter 5, we're talking about seeds, seedlings, and the pros and cons and the cost of doing either or. Now, I'm a big fan of seeds. Seeds are fantastic and they are very, very cost effective. So these snow peas were around $3 or $4 for this whole packet. Inside this packet, it doesn't tell me how many, but there are a lot of seeds. I've used only 4 or 5 of those seeds to grow the snow peas on my trellis that you can see here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me show you. Ah, yes, there we go. So 4 or 5 out of the whole packet, and I've got a whole packet to go. If you're a very new beginner gardener, you might want to start with seedlings because you can see the results a lot faster and it's a little bit easier. But if you want to save money, always use seeds. The other little hack is, once you make some friends in the gardening space, I would always recommend doing seed swaps. If you want seedlings, they can be a little bit more expensive, so I would say that this would be the size of a seedling that you would get from your local gardening store. These might cost anywhere between $4 to $6, but you only get the one plant. So for seeds, you get multiple plants. For seedlings, you only get one. Now, there is one other hack that I think is so crucial, and as you get more confident in your gardening, this is something that you can all do. It's harvesting your seeds, because theoretically, if you are growing a plant, you really only need to grow it once and then keep repurposing the seeds. It is very different for plant by plant, but for the snow pea example I just showed you, once I have a snow pea, if I choose not to eat it and dry out those seeds with inside it, I've got a whole new plant that I can grow. Same thing goes for marigolds. I've got a video on my TikTok and in my YouTube Reels about never having to buy marigolds ever again, and you can harvest the seeds within the flower once the flower dries out. Same thing, you'll never have to buy marigold seeds again. The next chapter is additional investments like tools and fertilizer. Somewhere in the neighborhood there's building and machinery going on, so that's fun. But let's go on. So there's a few things that you can invest in on top of the plants, the soil, the pots, or the containers, and I'll take you through a few different options. It is important to get some good gloves. You can buy gloves again for $2 from like the $2 shop, or you can buy some more expensive gloves. The next one is a trowel. I believe they're called trowels. I've never actually given this thing a name. And again, you can buy these from your local gardening store for as little as like $5 up to about $10 or $20. You do not need to spend a lot of money on these. These are incredible. These are Chikamasa. Chikamasa must be the brand, and they're made in Japan. Now these look like scissors. These cut through almost anything. I use this for all of the pruning in my garden. I pruned all of my tomato plants using this. I use it to cut off my vegetables or fruit when I'm harvesting them with these. These are actually one of the best things ever. Do not ask me how much it costs, because it was a gift from a company here in Melbourne. The company is called Organics HQ. I will find the cost for them and I will put them down in the description below. But you do not need to have anything like this. You can have as simple as a pair of scissors. That's literally what I started gardening with. You do not need to go and break the bank. Last but not least, you want a really good fertilizer, and I use sea salt. Someone actually told me that this is not a fertilizer, it's actually a conditioner. I don't really know, but I use it as a fertilizer, and again, I think these probably cost like $8 from your local gardening store. You can use things like blood and bone or pellet fertilizer. Whatever it might be, it's going to feel like you're spending a lot of money, but usually they last you months and months and months because you're only using a tiny little amount. It is really important that you get something because it is going to feed your plants and make them very, very healthy, and that's what you want at the end of the day. And that's pretty much much the only things. Oh, the last thing would be a watering can. We've got 2 different watering can options. I would recommend going with something with little holes in it because it's easier when you have small seeds or seedlings. But if you want something a little bit more bougie, you can go with something like this. And again, they're not going to cost you a lot of money. I think that this was from Bunnings for $5 or $6. This was gifted to me a long time ago, so I will put the name of the brand that gifted this to me. I believe it's a European company in the description below. I think this was a little bit more bougie and expensive. I love the aesthetics, but something like this will honestly work just as fine. So if you're trying to budget and you want to write all this down, I would say $10 average, on average. $10, $5. I really don't know how much this costs. If we're going off scissors, which I had for the first like year and a half of my gardening journey, $10. So we're looking at like $40 for, oh, and this was $6. So we're looking at $46 for these additional items. Again, you could get this from a garage sale for $2. You could get this from a garage sale for $1. You can spend a lot less than this. I'm just giving you a rough rule of thumb so you can budget, you can plan, and you can set that aside for when you do want to start your garden. Now you know exactly how to get started gardening on a budget. You have all the hacks, Facebook Marketplace, garage sales, and seed swapping with friends. I would love to know more about you guys. What are you growing in your garden at the moment? What are you wanting to grow? What containers are you purchasing? Any good, cheap, affordable hacks that you have about gardening? Please let us know. Put it in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join the gardening community and give this a big thumbs up if it was helpful. Thanks for watching. Happy gardening.